Now at 5, a local school district will allow some staff members to carry guns in school. Plus, the latest on security improvements at the Ottawa County Jail. And President Biden lays out new plans to combat climate change.
The 4 most watched news starts now.
The Jasper R5 school district will train some staff members to carry a concealed weapon on campus. This is KOAM News at 5. The Board of Education will select which staff members will undergo the training. Their main goal is to be proactive toward a potential threat and keep the children safe. Staff members who carry a concealed weapon will be anonymous, and the weapon will be out of sight for students.
We want to make sure that we are the first line of defense and we take care of what we can do, and then actually the police officers would come in and then they would be our backup, they would be our assistants. They would take over obviously whenever they get here, but we want to try to eliminate the threat before it gets worse than what it actually is.
The Jasper R5 school district also improved its security by adding complex locks and up-to-date cameras on campus. Not everyone supports the idea of armed staff members. We're going to hear conflicting views tonight at 6. There have been multiple disturbances at the Ottawa County, Oklahoma jail, from fires and fights to broken glass. A $2 million grant from the Miami tribe back in December was to help with updating the jail. Sheriff David Dean says updates are being made to keep the jail and inmates safe. Sheriff says many of the improvements are not apparent from the outside. They involve locks, doors, and other security changes inside the building.
Yeah, so it's best not to even see what we've done, because if you see what we're doing, you're going to go see a judge at some point, and you don't want to do that.
Sheriff Dean says a new roof and AC unit will be installed at the end of this month. AC, boy, we all need that. Let's check in with Doug Hetty.
Yeah, another super hot day for us today. Day number 10 that we have hit triple digits this summer, so heat advisories in effect mainly through our mid and southern counties as we go through the evening hours, and not too much is going on here. We are watching some showers, some thunderstorms down through parts of Oklahoma, but these are going to stay to the south and to the west of the region. Northern counties, a little bit cooler. Cold front rolled through today, so upper 90s, and then everybody else is sitting 100 to about 105 in Welch, 101 in Independence. Heat indices matching those temperatures into the lower triple digits, and through the evening hours we slide back through 100s, 90s, 80s, eventually a little bit cooler tonight into the lower 70s. Heat continues. Unfortunately, we're going to look at that here in just a bit.
Catch you then. President Biden today hit the road to Somerset, Massachusetts to lay out new executive actions on climate change. His speech comes as the president faces a roadblock in Congress to his larger climate agenda. Natalie Brand reports from the White House.
President Biden declared climate change an existential threat while visiting Massachusetts, one of many states experiencing a scorching heat wave this week.
We need to act. Just take a look around. Right now, 100 million Americans are under heat alert.
At a manufacturing facility for offshore wind energy projects, the president announced plans to boost the industry, as well as executive action to help communities and low-income Americans deal with extreme weather.
For the first time, states will be able to use federal funds to pay for air conditioners in homes, set up community cooling centers in schools where people can get through these extreme heat crises.
The president also warned if Congress won't act, he will. He's facing yet another roadblock after West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin said he couldn't support climate provisions in the Democratic spending package out of concern over cost and inflation. But President Biden has stopped short of declaring a national emergency on climate change for now.
President Biden, if he were to declare an emergency, would be directing funds to projects that would contribute to mitigation of climate change. Perhaps things like subsidizing renewable energy projects, solar and wind projects.
Environmental law professor Robert Glicksman says while the president has tools, executive action does not replace congressional legislation.
The idea that we should do nothing is just not acceptable.
Democrats are hopeful they can get Manchin to change his mind, while the White House says more executive actions on climate are expected. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, the White House.
The Biden administration says it's also prioritizing and enforcing workplace safety during extreme heat. Since April, the Department of Labor and OSHA say they've conducted more than 560 heat-related inspections focused on high-risk industries across 43 states. The January 6th committee will hold another hearing during prime time tomorrow night. But some of the evidence the committee was looking to have ahead of the hearing has gone missing. Officials say the Secret Service missed a deadline to turn over text messages sent within the agency on January 5th and 6th. The agency says the texts are potentially deleted and irretrievable. The National Archives has ordered a review of what it calls unauthorized deletion. The U.S. Army reports it's probably going to fall short of its recruitment goal by nearly 40,000 new troops over the next 2 years. There are several reasons. Officials say it's partly because unemployment is low. Also, fewer people are interested in serving. The Army is making its financial incentives more attractive in the hopes of gaining more recruits. It's also considering the possibility of no longer requiring new soldiers to have high school diplomas. Still ahead, American culture across the pond.
American food is invading the UK. I'm Ian Lee with the new taste from the States.
And next in Health Watch, a deep dive into the importance of hydration during this intense heat. Topping today's Health Watch, COVID-19 infections are on the rise in at least 40 states, with the highly transmissible BA.5 variant dominating the surge. The CDC says infections of the variant in the U.S. now account for about 78% of new COVID cases. And it's not just the U.S. The World Health Organization says coronavirus cases have tripled across Europe in the last 6 weeks. People who get COVID-19 are more likely to develop cardiovascular diseases and diabetes soon after infection. A new study out of the UK looked at more than 400,000 COVID patients and found 81% more diagnoses of diabetes in the first month after COVID. The risk remained high for up to 3 months. COVID-19 was also associated with a 6-fold increase in cardiovascular issues. When we're out in this sweltering heat, staying hydrated is critical, but how much water we need depends on some important factors. Reporter Michael George explains.
The streets are steamy on Jane Long's visit to New York City, so she's trying to stay cool. Do you always bring water when you go out in the heat?
I try to.
As we sweat in the heat, the body loses water, which regulates body temperature, so staying hydrated is critical. Staying hydrated?
Yes, we are drinking plenty, yeah.
Current guidelines say men need about 15 cups of fluid a day and women about 11. But registered dietitian Catherine Patton says it's not the same for everyone, and it helps to discuss some important factors with a healthcare provider.
It really does vary, according to, your size, gender, and especially just kind of how active you are, what medications you might be on, what kind of climate you live in.
Doctors say dehydration can sneak up on you and cause cramps, headaches, dizziness, and fatigue. If it's severe, it can mean a trip to the emergency room. Coffee, tea, and flavored waters do count towards your total fluid intake. And fruit and vegetables can also help with hydration. But be careful with alcohol, which has the opposite effect. And Patton says older people need to pay extra attention to their fluid intake.
As we age, we actually do, lose our sense of thirst a little bit. So it's important for, the older adults to definitely be more mindful of how much they're drinking because they don't sense that.
Patton recommends starting the day with a cup and just keep filling your tank, especially during these dog days of summer. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Another way to measure if you're drinking enough water is to look at your urine. Pale and light yellow means you're well hydrated. Darker yellow, that could signal you're dehydrated. A new study finds hormone replacement therapy for breast cancer survivors is not associated with recurrence of the disease. Survivors often deal with hot flashes, night sweats, and other menopausal symptoms which are treated with estrogen or other hormones. The new research of more than 8,000 women found no increase in repeat breast cancer after taking the hormones. And that is a look at today's health news. A little bit later, our pet vet on call.
Hi, I'm Dr. Eva Dude from Parsons Pet Hospital. Coming up, we're going to talk about problematic hair loss.
Plus, the heat gets worse over the next few days. We're going to look at that coming up. Well, of course, the heat continues. Another day that we've hit 100 degrees officially. So far, we've hit 102, possibly 103. Day 10 this summer, which is a pretty significant stretch. Indigo Sky Casino and Resort looks good until you step outside. Mostly sunny skies across the region. Of course, Indigo is just outside of Seneca, Missouri. All right, heat advisories continue. Excessive heat warning. Northeastern parts of Oklahoma, these go until about 8 p.m. and then they'll be reissued once again as we go through the daytime hours tomorrow. Got a cold front today. Can't feel it. Still hot. The humidity is a little bit lower, but Carthage 102, Grand 100, 103 in Parsons, 102 in Neodesha, Indy sitting at 106, and we aren't alone. Look at the heat across the Central Plains. Everybody at least into the upper 90s to lower 100 digits. But our humidity is pretty good. Look at our dew points, 55 to about 60. So we're in that range where at least the humidity, we're kind of in that not bad range, pleasant to not bad. It's just the actual temperature is way up there. So our heat indices are pretty much matching what our temperatures are across the region. 7th range line. Outside 102, northerly winds at about 10. Look at that humidity. It's at 21%. So this is a very dry heat, a Vegas heat, where it feels like 101. It feels actually a hair cooler than what it actually is. Through the evening hours, we slide back through the 90s, 80s, a little bit cooler for us tonight as we dip back into lower 70s for overnight lows. All right, nothing's going on here. Have some thunderstorms, southern parts of Oklahoma, northern parts of Oklahoma, and stretching south into parts of Texas. Unfortunately, these aren't going to make it here. They're going to stay to the southwest as we are still mainly dominated by this big upper level high out across the southwestern parts of the U.S., and it's really going to keep our weather pretty much the same over the next few days. Few clouds in here tonight, lower 70s, overnight lows. Let's go through the morning hours. Winds switch back toward the south, so our humidity a hair higher for us tomorrow. By noon, near 100, and then we climb all the way up 105, 106 during the afternoon. So a hotter day for us as we head into Thursday. Tomorrow night, we dip back, mainly mid-70s again, few little random clouds, and then as we head into Friday, here we go again, right back up into triple-digit heat across the region. Heat indices up there, that's why we have the heat advisories, excessive heat warnings, 105 to about 110 for us tomorrow. Much of the same on Friday, about 105 to about 110 as we go into Friday afternoon. And the heat sticks around as we head into the weekend. Here's Saturday, here's Sunday. Again, triple-digit heat. So this long stretch heat wave continues. We'll go alert days all the way at least through next Tuesday. 106 tomorrow, 106 Friday, 104 Saturday, a pair of 107s on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. May get a few random thunderstorms in here. May get down into the upper 90s late next week, but again, no big relief in sight.
We not only need a cool down, we need some rain.
We need rain bad. Yeah.
Wow. Thanks, Doug. Coming up, what the FDA is saying about the current state of baby formula production. First, though, we honor a local veteran. Ronnie Needham served in the U.S. Army for 22 years. His hometown, Joplin. And we salute Sergeant Ronnie Needham, our four-state hero. Topping today's Consumer Watch, the head of the FDA says there's really good news on the baby formula front. Commissioner Robert Califf says formula production is now exceeding consumer demand. The news came in his testimony today before a Senate subcommittee. He said even though there's now a robust pipeline of formula coming in, the shortages will continue to take some time to fix. The real estate market appears to be cooling, but that does not mean houses are going to be getting cheaper. That's because builders are putting up fewer homes as construction costs rise and prospective buyers get priced out of the market. According to the Census Bureau, June housing starts, which are a measure of new home construction, fell 2% month over month. An American food invasion is taking over the UK. From fast food restaurants to mom and pop shops, the flavors from the States are spreading. Ian Lee reports from London.
This London Tex-Mex joint started as a craving, a desire for good old comfort food.
And there's like a little bit of Mexican food, and some of it's good. But there's not a single Tex-Mex restaurant anywhere. Someone that's lived in Texas their whole life, that was not something I was ready to accept.
Texas natives Richard and Ashley Burgart moved to London for other jobs. But when they couldn't find that certain taste of home, they opened Di Grande, or Big D, as in Dallas, in 2020.
So when we would have Texans during the height of pandemic times that would come to the restaurant, and literally there'd be people like crying as they ate queso because they're like, I haven't been able to get home.
Obviously, crying about queso is a little bit of an overreaction,
but
it was touching.
What's been the reaction from the Brits?
There was definitely some kind of educating about what this is that had to happen. Tex-Mex isn't Mexican food.
Di Grande is part of the buffet of American restaurants popping up across the UK. From fast food joints like Popeyes and Wendy's, with plans to open hundreds of new locations, to mom and pop shops. Introducing something new and unique can still be a bit tricky.
How do you introduce people who've never had queso to queso?
Sometimes they don't order it, and so we bring them a sample anyways, and then they usually love it because it's good.
The hallmark of a good place? Repeat customers.
I love tacos. I love this place. You know, we live in the area, so yeah, I'm gonna keep coming back. And here's my guac.
And great guac.
Ordering guac. They're even getting the lingo down. Now that's a real takeover. Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
Meal delivery service Daily Harvest has zeroed in on the ingredient that may have caused a mysterious illness in hundreds of its customers. The culprit, Terra flour, a flour made from the seeds of the South American Terra trees. The announcement comes just weeks after Daily Harvest issued a voluntary recall of its French lentil and leek crumbles. Our pet vet on call next. Up next on the CBS Evening News, a look at the excessive heat warnings impacting a whole lot of our country. Then on KOAM News at 6, we're going to see how some four-staters are reacting to the Jasper, Missouri School District allowing some staff members to carry guns. Plus, another local school district hosts a hiring fair, and we're going to hear from some of the local participants in this year's Kansas Shrine Bowl. Stay with us for the CBS Evening News and then KOAM News at 6. Thinning hair can sometimes be a problem for people and for pets. Today's question for our pet vet on call comes from Gerald. He asks, what is the best treatment for my dog's hair loss?
Well, first you have to differentiate between a problematic hair loss and normal shedding. All dogs shed according to daylight length and temperature change. So if they're house dogs and they don't have that benefit, they will be thrown into continuous shedding, and that is normal. If you love your dog, you just deal with it. However, if you're seeing bald spots on your dog, that can be a problem. That you need to see your vet for.
Hey, thanks for the question, Gerald. We invite questions from anyone. If you have a question, you just send it to petvet@koamtv.com. Dr. Eva Dudek from the Parsons Pet Hospital answers a different question or brings us a fun fact every Wednesday on KOAM News at 5. You can also find answers to previous questions on our website. All right, let's check out our picks of the litter for the week. From the Joplin Humane Society, we've chosen Banjo, a 2-year-old male hound mix who they say likes to snuggle. And from the Southeast Kansas Humane Society, we've chosen this female domestic short-haired kitten named Scootaloo. That's right, Scootaloo, Douglas. If you're looking for a pet, why not check out your local Humane Society, Scootaloo. You can change the name if you don't like it, and you might love it. So,
I would change it.
It's a kitten,
yeah.
The Humane Society. It's going to be hot.
It is. It gets even a little bit worse as we go through the next few days. Alert days for about the next week. 106 tomorrow, 106 on Friday. Look at the heat into the weekend. If you are going to be outside, it's a drier heat, so make sure you hydrate because you won't sweat as much. So you won't know that you're dehydrated.
Wow, that's an interesting point. Please be careful out there. We'll see you right back here for KOAM News at 6. Let's make it a great evening.